Hi guys, and welcome to my next video. In this video we're going to look at my 5 picks of underrated classic cars that should appreciate well in the future. And to us as classic car enthusiasts, these machines aren't just vehicles to get you from A to B. They're like time capsules that bring back a golden era of motoring, because today's modern cars were kind of like, dull. It's no stimulation from the driving experience. We've got electronic steering, we've got suspension that absorbs the bumps, and you can't feel the road. It's boring when comparing it to the classic car world. That's why we love to drive these cars. But there are certain mates that sort of steal the limelight, such as the Jaguars, Aston Martins, Bentleys, sort of Fords to some extent, the Cosworths and the Capris of the world. But there are some hidden gems that go unnoticed. So in this video, I'm going to pick 5 of what I think are the most underrated classic cars that are affordable classic cars, not stupid money to buy or ridiculous money to restore and keep on the road and run every day. So here we go. Here's my number 1, and that's the Rover SD1 from 1976 to 1986. It's the first on my list because the stylish fastback Rover was Rover's go of making an executive car with a futuristic wedge shape, and the design, I think it looks great, and it was sort of loosely based on the Ferrari Daytona. And under the bonnet, the one you want to go for is the 3.5 litre V8. And that offers you a good balance of power and reliability. It was even used as a police interceptor car, and also in the British Touring Car Championships. It comes in a 2.3 litre, 2.6 litre, straight 6, and the 3.5 litre V8, which is the one to look out for in Vitesse form. And that had 190 brake horsepower, the Vitesse model, and did a 0 to 60 in 7.1 seconds, which is pretty rapid for back in 1976 and 1980s. It's a good figure for just a saloon car. The best years to go for would be in your 80s to your sort of get latest possible to 1986, which and the SD1 Vitesse V8 model as late as you can, because they ironed out some of the problems. They did suffer from build quality all the way through. However, the later ones did improve and they were better built. The biggest enemy is the tin worm. It basically suffers from rust, but mechanically you can still get hold of the parts at a price. A well restored SD1 definitely turns heads, and if you have one imported from the US, it comes with the round headlights, not just the one sort of solid light, and that looks different again. I'll put a picture up so you can see it here or there, whatever. So yeah, that's my number 1. Car number 2 is the Triumph Dolomite. Now, this first appeared in 1972 and it ended production in 1980. The Triumph Dolomite Sprint is one of the most underrated British sports saloons of its time. It was the first mass-produced car with the 16-valve engine, and the real innovation in the 1970s was the development of the 16-valve engine. It was fairly quick for its time, it was stylish, and it handled well. It was well balanced. yes, it's overshadowed by the Ford Escort, like for instance, the RS2000. It came in a 2-litre, like I said, 16 valve inline 4 engine, and it had 127 brake horsepower, and it did a respectable 8.4 seconds 0 to 60. Best years to buy this one is between 1975 and 1978. They had better reliability and improved trim levels. Why restore this one and what to look out for? Well, I think the future values of these are going to keep on appreciating. To look out for, again, the old tin worm, the rust. It comes with electrical issues, and they can have sort of challenging gearbox problems. But if you can get a good one to start with, it's a rewarding little car that's quite practical, and still affordable compared to the the Escorts and Capris that you see the values of shooting up for these Fords now. Car number 3, the Vauxhall Firenza, 1971 to 1975. Now this car, it was sleek, but I argue it wasn't as sleek as the Ford Capri, as it was Vauxhall's alternative to the Ford Capri, but it never gained the same following because it was derived from the Vauxhall Viva, and that wasn't particularly a great car, even though they're becoming more collectible now. But the Firenza version, it are rarer than a Capri, and the Capri has got all the limelight. With its design and strong engine options, it had a real potential of going up in value as a appreciating classic. The Droop Snoot version in particular is a rare and appreciating classic. The engine options was a 1.8 litre to a 2.3 inline 4 with up to 131 brake horsepower in the Droop Snoot model, and a 0 to 60 in 8.5 seconds, again with the Droop Snoot model. The Droop Snoot, not Snoop, sorry. Best year to buy these is 1974 to 1975, the Droop Snoot model. Rarer and more desirable. But the thing to watch with these are parts. It's a bit tricky to source them. But, I think the Firenza offers a unique alternative to a Ford Capri. And if you go to a car show in a Firenza, you're going to see loads of Capris, but less likely to see a Vauxhall Firenza. So that comes in at number 3. So car number 4, and you're going to say, oh no, not an Austin. But yeah, the Austin Montego from 1984 to 1994. In my choice, I include it as the MG variant, and also the Countryman Estate, because these are really rare cars now. So if you hear me out, the Austin Montego was once a common sight on UK roads, but these cars are really a rare breed, and they're mostly parked up in some scrapyard somewhere or some field that a farmer's owned, the Countryman Estate, looking very sad for itself. But if you can find one or pick one up in a classic car auction, I think you've got a really good practical classic car. In the MG form, the performance wasn't too bad. And then you got the practicality of the Countryman Estate. The engine options was a 1.3 litre, which is a bit useless, 1.6 litre and a 2 litre inline 4 and the 2 litre turbo diesels. In the MG version, the MG Turbo, it was up to 150 brake horsepower and could do 0 to 60 in 7.3 seconds. The turbo version, which is respectable for time as well. The best years to buy these cars would be between 1986 and 1989. Potentially the later versions are the best for the MG and the 1990 Montego Countryman Estate in like my sort of racing green. I've always fancied one of these because, as you know from my Mondeo, it's an estate. I like estate cars because it's practical for my lifestyle. The MG was the fastest four-door saloon of its time, while the Countryman Estate, as I said before, are rotting in a field somewhere or in a scrapyard. So if you can find one, I would scoot one up. And I would myself because I do keep looking for these to come up. Really, it's great. It's great to save a piece of British motoring history because that's come from a time when we actually did make cars. So that's my number 4. So this is my number 5, and it's probably the most sensible option out of the others, just purely down to its reliability. And don't shout at me, I know it's not a British car, it's Swedish, and that's the Saab 900, made between 1978 and 1994. And I would say the Saab 900 is the most durable classic car you can buy. The turbocharged versions were pretty rapid, while the build quality was miles ahead of anything we were making at the time for this era. It was a car designed by engineers rather than accountants, which is sadly was Rover's trouble, making it feel, a pretty unique car, Saabs, really. And that's why I should have put it at my number 1, but this is my number 1 choice to go and get yourself a good Saab. The engines, they came in from a 2 litre to a 2.1 inline 4 turbocharged variants. For the turbocharged variant, it had up to 185 brake horsepower, and it can do a really respectable 7.5 seconds, which could put some Ferraris at the time to shame. Best year to buy, between 1985 and 1993. I would go for as late as possible. Saab 900 Turbo 16S is the best combination of reliability and performance. Saab has a cult following, and it has pretty solid parts availability, and the engines were pretty bulletproof. So the Saab 900 is one of the easiest classics to keep on the road. Yeah, so that's my top 5 UK, in brackets, I know number 5 was Swedish, but cars that won't particularly break the bank, and you've got pretty robust classics that are going to appreciate. All right, the Austin Montego, I wouldn't use the word robust. And probably the Triumph, I wouldn't use the word robust, but you know what I mean.